Welcome. You're watching Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life, with your host, Danny Pabone and Rifle Scudder.
Hello.
So this is Miss Nancy Davis, Earl Davis' beautiful wife and better half. And Earl knows that. You'll admit that she's the better half. So this woman right here holds a special, very, very special place in my heart, as well as Earl, because I've been here how many times? About 15, 16 times?
At least.
Yes.
If not more.
I've made this trip to Georgia, Peachtree City, about 16, 17 times. I've lost count. And every time I come here, I stay at what we call Camp Davis. Nancy and Earl has a beautiful house, and their backyard is a huge lake. Beautiful area here in Peachtree City. So, Nancy, thank you for your hospitality, and Rifle has stayed here at Earl and Nancy's house many times as well. And Rifle could tell you they have a beautiful house, they have big hearts, and accepted me in your house because I could have been a serial killer for all she knew, axe murderer. And she said, "Yeah, fine, come and stay at your house."
Taken you. I could have.
Yes, she's not joking. You could take me out. I'm not gonna deny that. She's a tough woman. So yeah, thank you, Nancy. Love you, and thank you for accepting me into your house.
Too.
Yes.
We're honored.
So you had a question.
I do.
Okay.
I did not find out about rugby till it was a little too late. But if I wanted to help mentor a future rugby U.S. player for one of our National Rugby Football League teams, how would I tell them to train? Would I tell them to train in the weight room, or as a runner, or as a sprinter, or some of each? How would I train for rugby?
Okay, that's a Rifle question. Rifle.
Okay, so Nancy, my question to you as a Boeing pilot would be, how are you going to train a pilot that is just going to fly from Georgia to Virginia or Georgia to Florida, and then a different pilot that's going to fly from America to Bahamas, and then a pilot that's going to fly from America to Germany and all around the world? Are they going to have different training programs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to have 3 different training programs.
So
That's three different types of navigational ways to fly, and a lot of different procedures involved with all 3 of those. So very good.
So in rugby, it's exactly the same. If I take somebody like Earl, who just said, "I'm small, but I'm fast," it sounds like he would be an amazing scrum half. And then if I take someone like Damien, who's big and strong, he would be a prop. So I'm not going to have Damien do the same training and exercises as I would have Earl do. They would definitely have a different program. So first and foremost, you have to find out from the person that you want to help and that you want to guide. You got to find out what position would they fit in. And then there are specific training regimens for every single position. You can't just say all 15 on the field, you do exactly the same exercises and exactly the same training. It doesn't work that way. So you have to pinpoint what position this person is going to play, and then you specialize not just your training, but your eating for this person as well.
Right.
Because a number 13, 14, or 15, a winger, is going to eat very different than a prop. So there's so many things to take in consideration. But that would be my advice, is pick the position and we'll go from there.
And how would we pick, if you were sizing somebody up? I know we have a whole queue of anyway. So you know me, which position would you select me for if I was 2 generations younger?
I would say backline, maybe outside center or wing. Very, very strong, very, very athletic, so very fast. and you want some of your fastest players on the outside so that when they get the ball, they can run past the opponents. They don't have to hit them all the time. So I think that you would be a wonderful second center and a winger to be able to run past the people with your phenomenal speed and athletic body.
Thank you, Rifle. And we do have 8 more questions coming up. And so I really appreciate this. And I'm so glad that we're doing this. And this, I believe, is the 48th episode of Rugby with Rifle.
I believe so. I've lost count.
Thanks, Danny.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Okay, Mr. Paul Carter. How are you doing, sir? This is another investor friend of mine that I met quite a few years ago. I forget, it's been about 6, 7 years.
We used to stay here at Camp Davis together.
Yes, yes. So his name is Mr. Paul Carter. Mr. Paul Carter, what's your question?
So, thank you for letting me come in. Rifle, considering that rugby is a contact sport, why would it be either better or worse for children to play rugby versus football or something like that is also a contact sport? I wonder if you could comment on that and share your thoughts about that.
Sure. My very first piece of advice to that question would be, I can remember as a 4 or 5-year-old at my very, very first rugby practice. And one thing that the coach taught us in the very, very first practice was how to tackle. And what they would drill into you over and over and over in basics before you even had a ball in your hand, before you even did anything else, they taught you when you tackle, you never use your head. You absolutely keep your head out of harm's way. So in rugby, we say use your head, not to use your head. In other words, use your head to be smart. Don't use your head to hit someone or to get into a collision. So when you are 4 or 5 years old and you start playing rugby, they teach you the first thing. When you tackle someone, you go in with your shoulder, you hit their body, but your head is on the outside of their body. So when you go down with your shoulder and your head does not have any contact at all. In a perfect world, that would be the perfect tackle. I can't tell you as I sit and watch football with my son, how many times these guys in American football hit their heads and it's not even in play. When someone scores a touchdown or when the quarterback throws a nice pass or when one of the defenders go and they get a sack, they bump heads and they hit each other with a head. And just because you think you've got a helmet on and when you hit someone with a head, it doesn't do anything to you, look at all of the brain injuries that we are having. So that's the first big difference between rugby and American football. In rugby, you do not get your head into any physical contact if possible. You keep your head away from any contact, where in American football, your head is in contact all the time. I'll leave it there if that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Mike Grevin, another guy I met a couple of years ago. He's, what is your profession, sir?
Marketing and data.
Marketing and data. So, Mr. Grevin, what's your question?
Well, I'm not very familiar at all.
Grebs, make it an easy one, please.
See you. Oh,
I'm invisible.
there you go.
Not familiar with rugby much, Rifle. How you doing, buddy? So my question is,
Good news.
how long is the season? How many games does a rugby season play? Like in the NFL, what is there, 18 games or something like that? And is there playoffs? And how does the structure work in the rugby environment?
It's a very good question, but it's not a yes and a no. It's not an easy answer because of the fact that different countries and different clubs have different formats of games. So one country will have their players play in a club, and outside of the club games, they will also play international rugby if they are good enough. So let's say your country plays 7 or 8 international games per year. If you play for your club, you're going to play another 12 or 13 or 15 games. And then if you make the playoffs and you play in the quarterfinals, the semis, and the finals, you add another 3 games to that. Where other people, for example, in Japan, they also play international rugby. They play a high level of club rugby, but their season does not allow for as many games as Europe or the African team, the Southern Hemisphere teams. So that's why you will see a lot of international players. For example, from South Africa, from New Zealand, they go in the off season and they play in Japan because they can get a rest. They're not playing every single weekend. They're not playing a midweek game. They can actually play fewer games and let their bodies rest a little bit compared to what they are doing in their home countries and then in the international fields as well. So I can't tell you so many games per season because there are different leagues in different countries, Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere, different leagues, but also in Japan, they play fewer games. So it depends on where you actually play rugby that will determine how many games you play.
Do they all?
Let's say maybe 10 to 12 international games for your country per year. That's what people would try and look at on an average. In a World Cup year, when you are playing in the World Cup, that number obviously goes up. And then if you are good enough to go through the pushing stages and you make the semifinals or the finals, then it's even more. So it's a difficult question to answer. It just depends on where you play your rugby.
How often is the World Cup held?
World Cup is every 4 years. So it's just like the Olympics. Every 4 years. It's just like the Soccer World Cup. It's every 4 years. The Rugby World Cup is every 4 years. In 2027 is the next Rugby World Cup, which will be in Australia. And then obviously, and what we know and what we're talking about here, in 2031, it will be in the U.S. So every 4 years.
Thanks, Rebel.
Thank you, Mr.
Very
Bennett.
welcome.
Sarah, how are you doing, Sarah?
Hello.
So this is Sarah. We met like about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I forgot. About 3 years ago. So Sarah lives here in Peachtree City, and she knows Earl and Nancy Davis. She actually is currently living here, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And she's a smart woman.
Wonderful.
She just got a new position in Atlanta, but I won't continue to talk about your life. You have a question. What's your question, Sarah?
So as someone who's never seen a rugby match, what would be the one thing you would tell me that I should know before I do?
When my wife first arrived in South Africa from Taiwan,
Michael,
it
can I
was... I beg your pardon?
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Watch episodes 1 through 5 of Rugby with Rifle podcast. All right, continue.
When my wife came to South Africa for the very first time and she touched down that same Saturday morning on July 31st, 2004, South Africa played against Australia in what was then the Tri-Nations. She's never seen a rugby ball, doesn't understand rugby. I sat her down on the couch and I said to her, all you have to know for today is this. In the green team, there are 15 players. In the yellow team or orange, there are 15 players. And the green team has to score behind that line. The orange team has to score behind that line. And at the end of the game, the team who has the most points, they are the winners. And that's all you have to know for your very first rugby game. 15 players on the field. Which team has to score where? And how are you the winner if you have the most points? And that's rugby, your first game, and you will love it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Very welcome.
Okay. We have an Australian that was born in China. That makes sense. Man, these Australians, you should see Glenn. This is Glenn Wasser's son, Rifle. I don't know if you ever met him.
Okay, yes. How you doing, man?
So yes, those Australians, they make them big over there. Both Glenn and his son are tall. Big guys. So Tate,
do.
what's your question?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my question is, rugby has really deep roots overseas, but it's still a pretty niche sport here in the US. So what needs to happen for rugby to become mainstream here in the United States, kind of the same way soccer has over the past few decades?
I think what has to happen is people obviously have to be introduced to the game. Once people get to know the culture of the game, how it's played, not just on the field, but the camaraderie and what happens after the game. I think once people get introduced to that, it's easy to fall in love with the game. So number one, the people that play rugby and people that enjoy rugby and watch rugby just have to tell other people about it. I think another important thing is to tell people that rugby is actually safer than American football. Because when you watch rugby, people look and they don't know anything and they see those guys just pushing against each other. They don't understand it's a scrum. They don't understand head injuries. They don't understand what's happening. But if one can sit down and statistically show them the concussions in rugby are way less than in American football and how the game is played, I think that people will enjoy rugby much more because of the camaraderie, because of the culture of the game, because of everything that happens on and off the field. So it's just an introduction to the people that don't know the game. And as we've previously said, if you can just get a tiny percentage of Americans to enjoy the game, it will just take off because America loves sport and America is so big. All you need is a tiny fraction of the population to get their eyes on the game, to understand a little bit about the sport, even if they watch, overseas games, just to see what rugby actually is. I think that rugby could take off in America.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tate.
Very welcome.
Hey, next we got Mr. Canty. Simplify, he's a Marine. I'm not a Marine, but I just like saying that to Marines. So, Mr. Canty, what's your question? Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Hey, Rifle, how you doing, buddy? Can you hear me?
I'm well, thanks yourself.
Good, good. Hey, I had a question just kind of looming through my mind. I was around when the WNBA sort of got started. And now, probably within the last 2 years, it's really had a breakout effect. So people are now starting to attend the games, and it's like sold out stadiums. I know rugby has a female league, and I found that out not too long ago. And when do you believe that maybe female rugby will have the same effects as the WNBA has, like in terms of mass appeal, maybe on the world market?
Wow, that's an interesting question. See, the WNBA is just in America, obviously, stating the obvious here, where the rugby that the women are playing, and I don't know if you're aware that currently, as we talk, the Women's Rugby World Cup is taking place. Do you know that?
I saw one, I do, yes. And I saw one took place, I believe, back in as far as 2018, something like that. And now they have a league of about 10 teams.
Okay, so right now, as we talk, the Rugby Women's World Cup is taking place. So where the Women's NBA is just here in America, you've got the rugby of the women that are in all the big rugby nations. So you can go to Canada, Australia, England, New Zealand, France, Ireland, all of those countries play rugby, and their women are playing rugby as well. So once again, it's just having eyes on the sport. But what I know that is happening is because you can see in the numbers that the Women's World Cup is growing, and the sport of rugby just for women is getting more and more important as well. So previously everything was focused just on the men, but now they are focusing on women's sport as well. If you take my home country, South Africa, where I was born, our current coach, Rassie Erasmus, the previous World Cup, when he was director of rugby in South Africa, he really put a lot of time and effort into women's rugby. And South Africa played tomorrow against New Zealand, the Black Ferns. For the first time, we've made it to the quarterfinals. So the more that countries put effort and energy into the women, obviously the better they are going to get, but more eyes are actually on the games. And you can see all different countries of the men are also asking people to go and attend the female rugby, to watch the women's rugby. So that, I think, is definitely going to grow the game. When it's going to be as big as what the women's NBA is over here, I do not know. But I do know that number-wise and statistically, you can see women's rugby is definitely growing. More sports programs are dedicated to women rugby. More articles are written about it. More people are at the games. So it's definitely a growing course in rugby for sure. But I can't give you a specific answer as to when. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thanks, Rifle. I appreciate you and Danny.
Thank you, sir.
Very welcome.
Next up, we have Mr. Jordan. Jordan, I met Jordan last year, actually, at last summit last year. Thank you, Jordan, for being here, my friend.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, what you got?
All right. So as a novice to rugby, because of course I'm from here, I am very interested in learning more about the techniques of things. So for example, I had to look this up before I got up here, but I'm very curious as the techniques to scrum. How, and you mentioned that a couple of questions back. How how does that actually work? Because the interlacing and the forward movement, like I know there's a technique of like you have to have a straight back and stuff like that, but how does that necessarily work when you're in the midst of it all?
So how the scrum would work is in the very, very front, you have three players. So on the side, you have the two big guys called the props. You have what we call a loose head prop. And why he's called the loose head is when they go to scrum, his head is on the outside. So his head is loose. And on the other side, you have the tight head prop. And why he's called a tight head is because when those two teams go in, his head is actually in between two players. So he can't move it around. And then in the middle, you have the hooker. So the whole scrum is based on those two props. When they go down, like you said, you have to go low. And what you're trying to do is literally, if you watch the guys, they try and suffocate the other prop. So you try and get as low as you possibly can so you can get your head under the opponent's, neck and into his chest over here. So when you push, you try literally, these guys now, what they're trying to do is trying to make the other guys, it's difficult for them to breathe. And the only way they can breathe is when they lift their heads out of the scrum, and you're not allowed to do that. So if you can do that and your opponent lifts his head up, you get a penalty. So that's the whole thing which you correctly said. You want to get as low as possible. You yourself know when you try and push someone, if you're just playing a game, if you're standing up straight and someone else is lower than you, gravity just allows the person who is lower to push you over because it's easy when you're standing up straight if you're coming from a low point of gravity. So that's the whole reason for the props in the front, to try to get as low as possible so that they can get underneath the opposing team and try and stop them from literally breathing. So they have to get out where there's just so much pressure on their necks and breathing that they stand up, which they're not allowed to do. So, and behind them, it's the same. You get low and you push as hard as you can to try and make the front row stand up. That's the whole thing in a scrum. I don't know if that answers your question.
It definitely does. Thank you so much for the time.
Very welcome.
Next, we have Mr. Barry Garner. Barry Garner lives 2 houses down from Earl and Nancy Davis. So he also has a beautiful house with a beautiful backyard as a lake. So, Barry, thank you for being here.
Did you say I'm a beautiful neighbor?
No, did I say that?
Oh, well, you said Nancy was beautiful, and she. I can be
You're beautiful too, Barry.
a beautiful neighbor.
The beautiful neighbor that lives 2 houses down from Earl and Nancy Davis. What's your question?
Rifle, great to see you, and looking forward to seeing you when you come over this way sometime soon, or we come and see you. But
I hope so, Barry. Yes.
My first question for you is: how did the ball get that crazy shape, and why is it shaped that way?
I have no idea. I can't answer you the history about that. All I do know is that over the years, the ball has changed a lot. When I still played rugby, serious rugby, when I was younger, the ball was made of leather. And now it's synthetic. So if you followed rugby for so many years, you would see that the way players kick the ball, it has changed. The way they pass the ball, it has changed because the synthetic balls and the synthetic outside of the ball now is very, very different to what it used to be when it was 100% pure leather back in the old days when I used to play. The reason for the shape of the ball, I'm sorry, I have no idea. We did one program where Danny and I just spoke about the history of the game back in England at the rugby school where the guys were playing football and soccer. Sorry, they were playing soccer. One guy picked up the ball and started running the soccer ball, and they started tackling him, and that's how rugby started. But even that was a round ball. So the actual facts of the history of the shape of the ball, I do not know. I am sorry.
No worries. So I have another question for you, kind of like American football, college football here is really huge. I was a college cheerleader. Does rugby have cheerleaders or dancers or anything like that that are part of the game?
Not at all.
Great. We have
Not at all. We are players run onto the field. The only people that get any attention are the rugby players. There's nothing else that takes your attention away. No dances, no cheerleading, no fancy funny things next to the field. 100% grit and sweat and rugby, and that's it.
That is good. All right, sir. It's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Benny.
You too. Stay well. Okay.
Caitlin. Caitlin.
Hi, Rifle.
So Caitlin is here.
How you doing, Caitlin?
Good.
Caitlin, what you got?
I'm curious what the main differences are in 15s and 7s rugby.
Okay, before I answer the question, Caitlin, do you know what a fair value gap is? Caitlin,
Yes.
do you know what a put is? Caitlin,
Yes.
do you know what a call is?
Yes.
Caitlin, do you know? Okay. The biggest difference, obviously, we're quoting the obvious here, is in the 15-man game, you have 15 players on the field. And with 7 aside, you just have 7. So the time is also different. The 7 aside game is much shorter. The 15 side is the regular game is 40 minutes per side. So that's a much longer game. The 7 aside rugby is way, way faster than the 15-man rugby. There are fewer players on the field, so you have to do much more. You have to work much harder. You have to be a lot fitter than the 15-man. So the skill level, but the fitness level in the 7 aside is off the chart because you are literally running all 7 or 10 minutes of each half, and there's no break. If you see in the 15-man rugby, what we call the big things, for example, they have set pieces, which would be your scrum and your line out. In the 7 aside rugby, you also have a scrum and a line out, but due to the numbers, they're not as big a factor as the 15-man rugby. So it's a shorter game. It's much quicker. You need to be way fitter, and it's just action all the time. So that's the biggest difference between a 7 aside and the 15-man game.
Okay. So do the players that play 7s, do they also play on, are they like the same teams and they just play different games, or is it completely separate?
For the most part, it is completely separate. You'll have a skilled player that plays in the 7 aside, and you'll have a different guy playing in the 15. There are certain players, like, for example, the French scrum half, Antoine Dupont. He played 15. He's their captain, but he played also in the 7 aside when they played in the Olympics, and he helped France win the Olympic gold medal. South Africa has a player called Kwagga Smith. He plays 8th man for South Africa, but also a very, very good 7s player. So it is possible to have someone that goes from the 7s and they make it big in a 15 team, but it's not the norm. Normally, you will have guys that just focus on 7 aside, and then you have guys that focus on the 15-man game.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing, Rifle.
Very welcome.
Thank you, Caitlin. And that's about it. So I'm sorry. We have the sound man. Sound check. We got my friend Vinny here.
Me.
Vinny, what's you?
Hello, Rifle, my brother. Good to see you.
How you doing, Vinny?
I'm doing well. So I have a question. So thinking
Good,
of
man. Yes.
the difference between a football team and a rugby team, what are the different positions on a rugby team?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that last bit. The difference of a rugby and a football. What did you say?
Yeah, the difference between the two teams. What are the different positions on a rugby team?
On a rugby team, Vinny, you have the 15 guys that are on the field, and they stay on the field. They do not come off unless they are injured or unless they are tired and they get replaced by another player. Where in football, you have your defense and the other team has their offense. And then when third and fourth down is finished, then you swap. The other team changes, their defense comes on, the other team offense comes on. In rugby, you do not have that. So in rugby, every single player has to play every defensive minute, and the same player on that team has to play every offensive minute. There is no difference in offense and defense in players. Each of those 15 players stay on the field the whole 80 minutes. They do not get subbed, they do not go off, and they just got to play 80 minutes non-stop all the game, every single bit of defense, every bit of attack. It's all done by those guys on the field. That's the biggest difference between rugby and football.
Well, that's pretty interesting. So they don't have an opportunity to like have defenders or individuals that are blockers, or just everyone plays whatever position.
No, if you're on the field, you are doing everything. If the ball comes to you, you are the guy that attacks. If an opponent runs into you, you are the guy that defends. There's no changing. So you're not waiting for someone on the side who's going to come on and do that specific part of the game. You do everything. You attack, you defend, you kick, you everything in rugby. Everyone has to do.
Awesome.
And also, Vinny, you have two sets of players in rugby. You have the forwards and you have the backs. The forwards are number 1 through 8. So every team, number 1 through 8 is forwards. Number 9 through 15 are the backs. So every team has the same number.
Interesting.
As opposed to football, a wide receiver could be 81, could be 15, could be number 10. That's not the case in rugby. If you're number 1, you're a prop. If you're number 2, you're a hooker. If you're number 3, you're the other prop. Always. So you see a number 2 on a team, that's the hooker. On every single team, number 2 is the hooker.
Cool.
So 1 through 15, every team number has the same position.
Awesome. Interesting sport. I look forward to. I've never watched the rugby game, but I guess it's my turn, huh?
Do you love NFL?
You know, I don't really participate or watch team sports that much.
Okay.
But
No, you can watch rugby.
Absolutely, you can add that to my list of things to take a look at. So thank you for that, Rifle. Good to see you,
It
brother.
will give you a new lease on life, Vinny.
I'm sorry. Say once again.
It will give you a new lease on life. It will change you completely.
I look forward to it. Well, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinny. And
Very welcome.
Vinny, for being the sound man today. I appreciate all your help this evening. So, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Rugby with Rifle podcast. We went a little longer than scheduled, but like I said, we are winging it this year, like this weekend, like Earl says. So, Rifle, once again, thank you, sir, for being here, for giving your wonderful knowledge of the game of rugby. Thank you, everybody that's here in Peachtree City for supporting the podcast. Thank you, everybody that logged on to Zoom to watch this episode. Thank you, Earl and Nancy Davis, for hosting us, and we really appreciate it. So, my friend Rifle, thank you, sir, again, as always.
Thank you for watching, everyone.
So, with that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Thank you for watching this episode of Rugby with Rifle. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to support this podcast.